All right, and this is the Bold Strong Podcast. Welcome to the show. I'm Craig Nadeau, and today I have Peter Izzo with us. He is the Cappuccino King, and we're going to find out why he's the king and who acclaimed him to that position. So welcome to the show, Peter.
Thank you.
So welcome. We talked a little bit off camera, and you've been the Cappuccino King. So
Prince.
I think
Prince.
So. Yeah,
Papa's always going to be the king, but I was able to be brought in as a king. So yeah, sure.
Yeah. Cool. So Cappuccino King, maybe just tell us a quick story of Cappuccino King so we get some context of who you are.
So Cappuccino King does sales, service, supply, consulting for food and beverage industries to get into the espresso world. We kind of specialize in that. We help larger organizations, coffee roasters with their beverage program. Hotels, restaurants, same thing. Looking for a beverage program, they'll call us and we'll come in and we'll see what we can offer them. We've been doing that now for a long time. Dad immigrated in '68, felt that there was a need of coffee that wasn't around. So he had an idea of being an entrepreneur and starting this business, and he started importing products from Italy.
Wow, pretty cool. And now you run the show.
I run the show. So I was born in this industry and pretty much have been in it all my life. And then my wife and I took it over 28 years ago.
Do you drink coffee?
Yes, a lot. a lot.
Have a little drip bag at home. It's pretty much.
I cut myself off at 3 before I came here because
right?
then I'd be wired really high and I'm like, I better slow down here.
Yeah. Maybe because you've been in it so long, and I've maybe anecdotally kind of thought about this in the past. When I went to university, I was in university in the, I guess it was late 80s.
I was going to say 90s.
No, yeah. I went back to university. I could say it was in the 90s too, but I was there in the late 80s. And my belief anyways was that coffee was, at that point, was kind of, there's been ebbs and flows of coffee use, I think, over time. And there was a mall there on campus called Hub Mall. It was a residence.
Okay.
And there was a store there called Java Jive.
Yep.
And as far as I knew, I didn't really drink coffee then. Nobody drank coffee except at Java Jive. And the lineups were ridiculous, like 40, 50 people lined up at lunch hours to get coffee. And then I think what happened a little bit, it felt like there was a bit of a downturn in coffee, and then the Starbucks crowd shows up, and then there's a big upshift in coffee. And like, what's your take on it? Like, is that what happened in coffee?
Well, when in the late 70s, early 70s, late 70s, my dad, when he started the business, a lot of people didn't know. The only people that had or wanted the product were immigrants that had come from Europe that knew the product and knew what it was all about. So one of the advantages, or one of the things that my father started to do in order to introduce it, we used to go down to the Stampede.
Oh, wow.
And we used to go to the Big Four building, and he literally opened up a cafe right across from the gamblers, right from the casino. So opened up this cafe, and at first he was giving it out for free, just so that people can see what it was and what it was all about. Yeah. And they were like, oh, this is too strong. This is, oh my God, it's disgusting, right? And so through time, we educated most of the people down at that area where everybody came to see what the product was. And it grew from there. And then eventually people started it was the odd place here and there, the mom and pops that would offer it, and the little bakeries and cafes that started to pop up and start doing it. And eventually Starbucks created a new wave for sure, for the new generation for sure.
Yeah. And are you talking specifically about like a cappuccino espressos, or like we're not talking about an Americano black coffee, are we?
Well, no, the Americano, that is a trend that eventually became, because a lot of North Americans would travel to Italy or to Europe and they'd want coffee. Drip coffee or brewed coffee, and it wasn't available because in Europe we don't do this.
Oh, okay.
It's not the norm. So you would walk in, and most of the people would say, "I'd like a cup of coffee," and the Italians would be like, "Okay," they'd make you an espresso and hand you an espresso, and they would look at that and say,
"What is this?"
No, this is too strong. And so the Italians would say, okay, hang on a second. And then they would pour it into a cappuccino cup, and then they would add some hot water to it. And then they would drink it. It was like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
Americano for you. Yeah.
Right.
And and then eventually in time, it became an Americano. So every time, everybody in North America, it's Americano.
Really?
Coffee is totally different here than it is in Europe.
Yeah. So when your dad was giving out the samples at the Stampede, what was that? Was that
espresso cappuccinos? Those were the two, and a latte. But it was mostly cappuccino and espresso.
Neat.
Because lattes are considered a breakfast drink in Europe.
Okay.
So, and so they don't serve after a certain period of time. After 11, you're not getting anything other than an espresso or a cappuccino.
Wow.
Yeah. My mom used to make, when we were kids and living in Italy, my mom would grab the stovetop espresso maker. We call it La Napolitana. And we would put it on the stove, and she would make the espresso and then boil some hot milk. And then if she made biscottis the night before, we would put the two together and then break the biscottis and put it in. That was our hot cereal in the morning.
No way.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. Or if not, stale bread with some brown sugar.
Yeah.
To die for.
Wow.
And that would get us to go to school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that's kind of where the latte comes in.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, the notion is in Europe, coffee is important to them. So they stop, they linger, they have a coffee, they share the moment with their friend.
Right.
It's not a 20-ounce latte carried it down the street and put it in the car.
Yeah. It's not like a life support like some people treat it here.
It is. It can be, but they stop for the moment. So, for example, you can go in the morning. So most of the typical European morning is you're going to wake up, you're going to get dressed, you're going to get showered, you're going to go to work, but you're going to stop off at the local coffee shop down in your little community. You're going to sit there, and all your friends are waiting for you. And all of a sudden, there you are. You're having a coffee. You're lingering. You're chatting. You're having a croissant, and then it's like, see you later, and off you go. Right?
Yeah.
And then maybe 10 o'clock, they'll come back. They'll meet. They'll chat again, and then they'll go, and away they go. But it's not like they carry coffee with them all the time.
Okay.
It's if you were to go to Naples, there's literally an ambulance will stop in the middle of traffic and literally walk in, go have a coffee, meanwhile holding up traffic behind. They don't care.
Really?
I'm having a coffee. He's going to die. It'll be okay. And then they'll go and they'll go do what they have to do and then keep going. Right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's for them, it's the start of the day. It's a pick-me-up at midday, and then it's something to finish off at the end of a day.
So how do you, like in that same sort of thinking, how do you now contextualize where we're at with coffee? What's our relationship with coffee now?
I think it's a drug. I think it's just something that people need to have. Sometimes it could be a status thing. Like there's always somebody that's got to have a coffee in their hand, and I just don't get it. It's not something that I grew up in this business. So it's quite funny because a lot of people say, oh, you know, what do you have at home and what do you use and what do you do? And I'm like, I don't. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, I drink it every day. I'm at work 6 days a week. So when it comes to having the nostalgia has gone away from me.
Really?
It's now coffee is it's a pleasurable moment and I enjoy it. But I think for most people it's for some it's a status. You got your Starbucks. It's a $20 cup of coffee, right? And then for some people they just got their travel mug and it's their addiction, right? And it's just the way they go, right?
Yeah.